surpluses. And that's why he's not increasing the debt. Yes, he took out an IMF loan. They actually used that, though, to increase to exit the currency controls. Milei inherited so low, like record low reserves. It was a dangerous level of record low reserves. I think it was like 25% of what they recommend for reserves, or what a healthy level of reserves was what Milei inherited. I can't remember exact numbers. It was really low amount of reserves. He inherited that. They had trying to get, that was his biggest issue. Taking out the loan for the reserves is something that allowed them to get rid of currency controls.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 347, and I'm talking to Skot Sheller for the fifth time. He's the third person who's been on 5 times. We're going to talk about one of our favorite topics, of course, Javier Milei. This will be our 83rd edition of the Javier Milei Show. How are you, Scott?
Doing well, Chris. Doing well.
Yes. Yeah, you're all the way up in New Hampshire, and I think this is the first time I recorded from a show with you, and I'm actually in South America, but I'm in this lovely area in Santiago.
Nice. You're only like an hour ahead of me, though.
So, no, Santiago is right on Eastern time.
Is it?
Yeah. Buenos Aires is an hour ahead, and Austin is an hour behind. Of course, with daylight savings time, there's. By the way, I was actually reading something. There's actually been some talk about apparently the center they're actually thinking about adjusting Argentina's time zone. Did you know about that?
I didn't see that yet.
Yeah, it seems like they're on. From what I hear, they want to try to match Rio and Sao Paulo, which is kind of Brazil sticks out really far east. I was kind of amazed at Argentina, especially when we go off of daylight saving times, is actually 3 hours ahead of Austin. I couldn't believe it was that far ahead. It just didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, because you're Central Time Zone, right?
Yeah, I'm Central Time Zone. So yeah. So I'm an hour behind New Hampshire. New Hampshire, and right now New Hampshire and Santiago are on the same time zone.
That's cool.
But yeah, it's
and sometimes Buenos Aires is 1 hour ahead, and sometimes it's 2 hours ahead. So it's not too bad. If you're not like when I was in Portugal last week, 5 hours ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, Portugal's lovely. So anyway, let's get onto this. First of all, yeah, there's been some congressional acts going on. Milei vetoed, and they're overriding his veto. What can you tell us about all of that right now?
Yeah, so a month or two ago, the Kirchnerists passed laws to increase welfare and disability benefits, stuff that didn't have any funding that they could. It was extra deficit funding. So it wasn't stuff that they had allocated in the budget. It was extra spending, and the goal was to first of all make themselves relevant, be like, oh, we're helping the people. Then secondly, I mean, the real and so they could have something to fight for because they knew Milei would veto it, so they could have something to fight, to like argue or campaign on in the midterm elections. And then the second thing was the inflation comes from money printing, obviously, and they're hoping that it breaks Milei's fiscal surplus, and it will cause trouble with the money supply. Like Argentina will have to increase the money supply to pay for it. So these are two things that they're trying to do. And Milei vetoed all of the laws, but he actually had some defections in La Libertad Avanza. that because I believe that these guys aren't they weren't put on the list to run again or something. I can't remember what but the three guys from La Libertad Avanza like basically betrayed him and allowed this vote to happen because they needed a quorum to do the vote, and so Viscerel betrayed him in the first time. She could have shut down these things in the Senate, from what I understand. And then he had a couple defectors that allowed this vote to happen, and they overrode his veto for I believe it was disability benefits. So they want to add a bunch of these disability benefits that the country really can't afford. And it's Kirchnerism's one of their stands to take down Milei, to hurt Milei, and this was one of his this was one of the risk factors, was just because he has such a weak Congress. And you know, we talk about his detractors, we will talk about his detractors, but they won't mention this. They won't mention the fact that his Congress is filled with a bunch of corrupt socialists, corrupt Peronist, and they do everything they can to sabotage Milei. They do everything they can to limit what he can do. And so, uh, and then, this is just basic stuff, and these people are trying to act like Milei should have done even more radical stuff when he's accomplished more than anybody could expect him to accomplish. So this is one of the Kirchnerisms. Hopefully, it's their last stand. Hopefully, that this will actually trigger an even stronger response in the midterm elections coming up in September and October. Yeah, and they will win with even a greater majority. They're hoping for over 40% of the vote for La Libertad Avanza. Um, Obviously, it'd be better if they got over 50, but 40% of the vote, pretty good, given that there's like a bunch of different parties and factions.
La Libertad Avanza has 6 out of 72 in the Senate and 40 out of 257
And they lost a few, so there was 3 defectors, basically, and now you can expect all of those guys to vote against Milei from now on. That's how it works. Argentinian politics there's, like, no loyalty, and it's bizarre. I mean, so
That's wild. So what makes them change their minds? Is it just because somebody gives them a better deal, or what? I mean,
I feel like
these people have sincere beliefs, I guess, is what I'm really wondering. And
apparently not everybody. I think his party does have a lot of people that have sincere beliefs. However, you're trying to get together this party that didn't exist, and with it's basically like a libertarian party. You have to have libertarian principles, and not it's just hard to get everybody aligned with that have those principles and elected and not corrupt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They've had, I guess, you know, as anything, you have people that have their own agendas that are trying to improve themselves more than the country or the party. So um that's part of it. And I wouldn't shock me that these guys didn't vote. These guys allowed the quorum to happen, that they were paid off or something like that. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, you really do wonder how this.
socialism will do anything. Obviously, it's an extremely corrupt. They're extremely corrupt, and they will pretty much do anything to accumulate power. They've stole billions of dollars, um, and their whole regime was based on corruption. Really, corruption and political coalitions.
Well, they're clearly getting desperate and it's showing because they're just going to that's what happens. And when you get more desperate, you end up doing crazier stuff and it kind of shows your desperation. It's
This is stuff they've always done stuff like this. They gave pensions to people that didn't work. That was one of their issues. What Malay was dealing with is they were giving pensions to, like, let's say your wife did not work, but you worked. They would give pensions to your wife as well, right? Stuff like, giving welfare to people that didn't contribute. Like retirements. And this is one of the big problems that Malay is dealing with, or that they have. And what it bankrupted the country is it's populism. Let's give you this, that for votes. And that's basically what the Kirchnerists do to maintain power. And then they enrich themselves through the corruption of the state and their friends. So this is and their labor unions and their businesses and their predatory businesses, and this is just the whole system that existed. And the common man would be left out.
yes, the common man is left out, but we are, the common man is certainly doing better than he was when Milei took office. If we shown these numbers are just amazing. Uh, Lower poverty rates, rent. It's easier
Yeah,
to find.
I always forget to mention the poverty statistics, and there are some independent statistics, some independent universities and stuff they all show that poverty is down, and one of the big reasons is inflation is down. So when inflation is down, people are struggling a little bit less, and with the increase in prices, and it brings down poverty. So this is the mechanism for Malay, and as he continues to reduce inflation, the poverty is going to continue to reduce. And there's the other factor is the economy is growing, so you have lower inflation, higher growth, recipe for getting people out of poverty. A lot of them were just plunged into poverty with the Kirchnerism, with the high inflation, with the I've seen it firsthand, Chris, like the import and export restrictions. You can't import and export anything. Destroyed so many people. The amount it meant everything got expensive. People couldn't afford virtually anything. I mean, if you have an iPhone in Argentina, it's like a huge sign of wealth, stuff like that. Um, and because it was so expensive, you couldn't even get one. So, um, yeah, so many people are plunged into poverty, and people are starting to come out. Uh, it is expensive in Argentina right now.
Yeah, Argentina is not. Buenos Aires. It's not really quite as expensive as New York or California, but it's on the same level as, say, Dallas or Austin. As far as expenses go, it's definitely not a cheap place. I mean, it's probably the I don't I there's probably
Is it
not a
more expensive than Santiago?
Santiago, I would say, is cheaper, but there's a lot of different.
But there's a couple of different factors. I mean, that
Yeah.
the dollar has really remained stable. So when Malay took office, what was it, like 12, 1300
Yeah, something
pesos
like
per dollar? It's right around that now.
yeah.
But they've had inflation, so things in dollar terms have gotten more expensive, while the currency has remained relatively stable. And the question is, are they making the currency s- are they artificially strengthening the currency? And they're the thing is they it doesn't seem like they are doing major things now. They say that they're manipulating future contracts, but I just don't think that could really affect the currency in just a massive way. So I'm not sure. I don't think that the government right now is majorly affecting the currency. I think one of the factors is the U.S. dollar is declining. So the U.S. relative to the U.S. dollar, the U.S. dollar is going down relative to the other currencies, and I think it's making the Argentinian peso a little bit stronger. So it is floating right now. They're having some. They're dealing with the floating currency, and being a little bit of weaker currency. It'll move more than the euro compared to the dollar, of course. So they're dealing with the floating, but it's much better than what they were doing before with the fixed exchange rate or the rolling peg where it was depreciating 2% a month, etc. So it's really interesting, the dynamics now. It'll be really interesting after the election what happens. Does the currency depreciate? Will will people start to lower prices? Because I think the prices are going to have to come down. Malay seems to believe in that people will just start lowering prices just so they can keep in business. If you're in Palermo and the prices are very high and people aren't going to your business, well, you're gonna have to start lowering prices. You're gonna have to start adjusting. You're gonna have to make it acco- to accommodate the people in your the accommodate the people. So, there's a lot of good things too. Because of the lower inflation, people are saving a little bit more, spending a little bit. They're using the car purchases, for example, are very high. Um, for housing, a lot of housing transactions. So there's some good things going on in the economy. Exports are up in a lot of sectors. Oil is up. Mining, the Riggy investments are reinvigorating Argentinian mining. They're getting a lot of investment in mining. And Chile has their mining production dwarfs Argentina, and it's just because Argentina has been such a basket case. They have just as much mining or more than Chile. They have a small fraction of the exports and production. So also, Malay's lowered export tariffs, and that's led to some better conditions in the agriculture market. So there's a lot of good, even though there is things are a little expensive too.
Why has he kept export tariffs around at all? Which is something I've never. I mean, this is something I never even heard of before I started following what's going on in Argentina. I mean,
Right.
the main thing that's going to happen is nobody's going to make anything to be shipped out. Yeah, they won't pay the tariffs. They just won't ship stuff out. They just
He
won't
got rid
bother.
of some of them on mining. Well, because they're broke. The country's so
Yeah,
broke. The country was so broke that they start and the one group that was actually productive, that actually would make money for the country, was the farmers, the agriculture. So
yeah.
the government started to really expropriate the farmers, the one people that they could, and uh he's reduced them with plans to get rid of them, simply because he doesn't want to. He has reduced, but they haven't got rid of them because they are such a source of funding for Argentina. So as they get more, the economy grows more, they get more tax revenues. As he continues to shrink the state, they will be able to get rid of them entirely. But that the export tariffs are one of the big sources of revenue for the government. So it's just the reason why he can't get rid of them right now is because he's trying to continue this budget surplus, which will
And if he doesn't, he'll have to resort to money printing. And the big issue right now is they want to get rid of inflation. So, um,
Yeah.
reducing the export tariffs helps them a lot. Getting rid of them entirely is his goal. So,
Yeah, that seems like such an evil thing, such an evil tax to me. I mean,
it's an awful tax.
yeah, it really is.
Really hates it.
I suppose if you, Martin, I was just looking this up. The peso, the Argentine peso. I'm putting it up against the Mexican peso, which is December 2023. It was around 46. One Mexican peso would get you 46 Argentine pesos. And now that's up to about 70. So that's still the Argentine peso has lost some value, but it wasn't nearly the loss that it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's remained strong. Some of Malay's critics claim that they're artificially inflating the peso, which is what other governments have done. But I'm not sure in what capacity they can be doing that, because they're not really buying and selling bonds right now. They're not really doing a lot of the things that you would typically expect them to increase that. Some there is some future markets. I think
Yeah.
they stabilize it a little bit, but I'm not sure if what the if they are actually increasing the value of the peso. Um, the but I don't think it's a massive. And
Yeah.
some of these people say that claim that there's going to be a run on the peso. We'll see. I hope not. I think that there might be some there might be some just companies lowering prices, and then a little bit of depreciation of the peso. But
Yeah. And let's also point out that up until 2017, the Argentine peso was actually worth more than the Mexican peso. It was around 2018 that they crossed,
yeah,
and the Argentine peso has never, and it just, I, you know, I guess the Mexican peso, while it certainly has a reputation, is probably probably the best of all the pesos out. Well, maybe Uruguay or Chile, but
no, Uruguay and Chile.
yeah,
Uruguay's had a pretty respectable currency, not
yeah,
the high inflation. So Chile's been a pretty stable country.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, peso is Spanish for shit coin. So it's because, but I know it's not, but it's a good way to put it. Because I should look up the origin of that word. It says really kind of, and of course we're factoring. It was at 20. There was that big spike because he stopped the phony government rates. So I mean, even at the beginning of 2022, one Mexican peso would get 6 Argentine pesos. So I mean, yeah, it's still. I mean,
2023 was when it really just took a huge nosedive. I
yeah,
remember I remember it went up dramatically one week in April. It was like 300, and then went up to 400 or something like that. 100 lost 100 in 1 week or something.
yeah,
It was insane. 2023 was the seeds to why got Milei reelected, because that year was a complete disaster. And that year the Kirchnerists were in charge, so they beat Macri, and they made everything way worse. And 2023 was just the pinnacle. It was a
yeah,
disaster. Inflation kept going. And when even Massa gave Massa, like, basically made him the president, control over the whole economy, and just got worse. I mean, what did he do? He continued the money printing. He put on price controls. It was a total disaster. There was lines for gasoline and stuff like that. So there's just like this all these stuff like loud Malay to get.
Cause the disease, then offer the cures in the form of price controls. Yeah, they never look, "Oh, why is there inflation?" No, "Oh, we'll just put on price controls," and it's an absolute disaster. Saifedean Ammous has been, recently had a long tweet, critical of Milei again, which is unfortunate. I mean, Saifedean and Milei agree on probably 80% of the issues. They both free market capitalism. They both want a sound currency, but uh, Saifedean forgets that and occasionally wants to take a dig at Milei. I like Saifedean. He's a smart guy, but it's unfortunate to see him. Anyway, so it starts off saying that Milei apparently tried to offer investors a 69% interest rate and uh, on bonds. Is that true?
I'm not even sure. I know that there's in May they have a 30% interest rate, and you got to say you got and um like and the fact that they're trying to roll over the debt is somewhat an improvement. So
Yeah.
like they couldn't even really do that before because of just how bad the government is. So they're getting a little bit more access to markets and investors. So they're trying to actually do it. And this doesn't actually. I mean, the interest rate actually doesn't increase the debt. It's that's on the P&L, right? That's an expense for the country. It doesn't actually increase the debt. Um, so it's they thought they thought they could put in the budget. Some I haven't read totally into it, but Daniel Mitchell said that what didn't go perfectly well, but that's going to happen. You're going to have some when you're starting this, you're starting to get this going, and you're trying to roll over your debt, which is actually a good thing relatively because then you especially if Malay isn't creating more debt. That's the thing. Malay's not creating more debt, even having a high interest relatively high interest rate. What you do is that is as long as you have a surplus and then you can budget for that, it's not increasing your debt. It's not increasing your debt. And if you're paying off, if you're paying off your debt and not running budget deficits, you're actually it's not really that bad. So the fact that Saifedean is doing such a big thing about trying to roll over debt in a country that has been um, every country does this and it's sort of insane. Malay inherited the debt. You can look at how much debt the Fernandez government added. I put in my post to respond to him. The Macri government and the
Yes.
Kirchnerist government, they increased the debt. Malay inherited the debt. Okay, Malay is running budgeted surpluses.
Yes.
And not only that, he's running financial surpluses, so they're paying for all of the servicing cost of the debt, so that they're running a very healthy surplus, and so Malay is not the problem for the debt. Malay inherited the debt, so the fact that they're trying to roll it over is actually allows them to not have to continue to um, cut not have to continue to create these bonds and everything, and it's actually allows them to cut taxes and everything else. So it's not the fact that they're going to have some hiccups on some auctions for debt that Malay inherited, and they're doing exactly what everybody else does and what you would recommend to do. Seems like a crazy criticism. So, um,
The mess wasn't made in one day, and the mess isn't going to be cleaned up in one day.
yeah, I mean, it's not, and you can look at the debt. Malay's actually lowered the debt by about $40 billion in dollars.
Yeah.
Okay, and then some safety is like, oh, it's because of inflation. Well, The other guys had inflation too, and they rapidly increased the debt.
Yeah. There is
He's reducing the debt because he's not running surpluses, or he's not running deficit. Excuse me, he's running surpluses, and that's why he's not increasing the debt. Yes, he took out an IMF loan. They actually used that though to exit the currency controls. Milei inherited so low, like record low reserves. It was a dangerous level of record low reserves. I think it was like 25% of what they recommend for reserves. So what a healthy level of reserves was what Milei inherited. I can't remember exact numbers. It was a really low amount of reserves. He inherited that. They had trying to get that was his biggest issue. Taking out the loan for the reserves is something that allowed them to get rid of currency controls.
yeah.
Saifedean, if you look at previous stuff he said, a lot of these Milei critics, they all talked about the currency controls that Milei inherited.
Yeah.
Well, he needed to take off currency controls right away. Day one, take off currency controls. Well, Milei took off the currency controls. Do you see them
Yeah.
congratulating Milei? Do you see him like, well, Milei does this and this bad, but he took off the currency controls. That's good. That's good. That's good for Argentina. No, they don't even mention the currency controls. They completely ignore it. Anything Milei does that's good, they ignore it. Cutting spending 30%, they ignore it. Oh, he's cutting like they'll be like, oh, he's hurting the pensioners. He's actually helping the pensioners. Pensioners are doing better under Milei.
Yeah.
This government, because when you lower inflation, that helps them. So, they just some of the criticisms, especially on the debt that Milei inherited. And I hear some of these guys. There's this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he constantly is talking about Milei and the currency controls and it's criticizing Milei and all. And it used to be the currency controls, and now it's whatever. So
Yeah. Scott. The thing is too is for the last 2 years, Javier Milei is basically the captain of a spaceship that has been going out into space that has never been explored. Everything he does is uncharted territory. He has nobody that he can ask. He can't go ask anybody for advice. Hey, you did this. Can you tell me how to do this? He's got to figure all of this out on his own. I mean, it's really remarkable what's happening here. And he's actually managed to convert and try to move away from socialism and make it as painless as possible, because one of the problems, a lot of free market reforms will cause pain in the short term, and that's why they don't get implemented. But there's long-term benefit, but they never work because it's truly, it's hard. It's harder and harder for me to criticize this guy as time goes on. I mean,
it really is. And look at what's happening with the legislature. How they overrode his
he's got a hostile legislature.
They act like Saifedean, like he's some sort of dictator.
Yeah. Well, Saifedean's been hanging out with too much.
That like he can do whatever he wants. They literally are sabotaging Milei at every possible.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it took him 7 months to pass legislation. 7 months, and it was a 36-36 vote.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely it's insane that like this guy pretends that Milei is some sort of dictator. He likes Bukele, by the way. I'm pretty sure
Bukele probably could do it.
Actually
He has a lot more power. Maybe
much more dictator than Milei. So he gets that. Bukele's like threatening people to put people in jail for raising prices. I don't see him like yelling at Bukele.
Bukele, yeah. I'm gonna get a guy here. Bukele is there's a guy from Venezuela who basically says Bukele is taking everything out of Chavez's playbook, and that's, I mean, he's going to try to make himself president for life, and that's not a good thing. But I don't want.
I don't like him president for life. I mean, if he's relatively free market president for life, but I just see a lot of things about. Well, I know this isn't about Bukele, but I see a lot of things here and there about Bukele that
Yeah,
are.
I wanna yeah, I wanna
It's
say
like
okay.
I like Malay way better. There's a lot of just this
Yeah,
like authoritarian stuff that he does that sometimes it just isn't even in good policy. Like threatening to put.
yeah, so anyway, so continuing, Safety says, "Even if the bond auction had" quote, "Even if the bond auction had succeeded, it is difficult to see how Argentina could possibly avoid default and or very high inflation in the rest of Milei's term." And then he said, "According to Grok, Claude, and ChatGPT, no country has ever offered a yield in basic common sense, no country has ever offered a yield higher than 30% of bonds at
Well,
its
that's what in May they had a
Yes.
30% bond. So I'm not even sure where the 60%. You got to keep in mind that their inflation is pretty high. Okay. And
Okay, yeah.
is it nominal or real? Now, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and it's a supply and demand. They're gonna have to do lower bonds. I mean, that's just how it will work. And to say that, oh, he's running budget surpluses. Now, this is something that Saifedean, that he and I were going back and forth, right? He was claiming oh, like they're not that they're only paying the budget they're actually not paying the servicing costs. And I proved to him, like, if they're spending nearly 1% of GDP on servicing costs, on paying the debt, paying the servicing costs and the debt. 1% of GDP. They have this year they've had it's like 1.1% budget surplus. And after servicing cost, it's 0.03%, it's 0.3% budget surplus. So they're spending 0.8% on the servicing cost. They're spending nearly 1% of GDP on the servicing cost. I showed that to him. He's like, oh, he had nothing to say. He just blocked me.
Yeah. Say block you, yeah, really, that disappointed me. Yeah, here's Safety saying, "Milei is just another inflationist president," and then going down here using his free market,
he's
and he's
this is
said
nothing
he's
but
adding reneged okay, okay, Milei has not shut down the central bank, that is true. I mean, one thing we're learning, it's not always that easy to just shut down a central bank, but he has taken power away from it by basically letting you do anything with any currency you want to use. So if you want to buy a house if you want to buy a house or sell a house and buy a house in Argentina using dollars, you can do that.
right. They basically said if you have any contract in any currency, that contract
Yeah.
is a contract that will be enforceable by the laws of the state. So they're
Yeah.
contract and property rights. But the thing is like with the central bank, how is he supposed to his goal to get rid of the central bank was basically to abolish it, turn every deposit, all the peso deposits, convert them to dollars, convert all of the contracts into dollars, everything into dollars, all the government bonds into dollars, everything. The problem is why Malay couldn't do this. Is first of all, he's very weak.
Yeah.
Secondly, the things were rock bottom prices. You essentially have to buy out the peso,
Yeah.
denominated stuff. And they really, like I said, they had a very low amount of dollars. He had a record low amount of dollars. So it just wasn't, it maybe could have happened, but he couldn't have politically swung it. He basically, they said that it was just not possible, um, um, politically to do it. Impossible politically to do
Yeah,
it.
because
So
this also
so
requires
he had to roll with the central bank and
yeah.
roll with it. And um, he didn't have the political force to do what he wanted to do during his campaign. He didn't win the election didn't go that well for him. Okay,
Yeah.
especially the deputies and the Senate, they didn't dominate. Lalo Rattanavanza didn't have like a outstanding, overwhelming election, just like Malay only got 30%, and Massa got 37%. He won in the runoff.
Yeah.
So
And that unfortunately is where the
coalitions, and they just didn't have the he didn't have the ammo to do that. So he's like, "Oh, he can get rid of." I mean, he can't even sustain his vetoes, Saifedean. He can't
yeah,
even sustain all of his vetoes.
yeah,
He
there's
can't
a
even
lot.
keep 2/3 of the people from voting against him and through his vetoes. So, or he hasn't got rid of the central bank. Well, he's been trying to endogenously dollarize the country and get with the
Yeah,
currency company. He's done there's all these things that he's done, try to improve currency competition, try to get more allow more dollars and etc. To be used in the economy. So uh, w- to, to say that like oh he hasn't got rid of the central bank like he's some dictator uh,
yeah,
um, is
yeah.
is just wild.
Wait, as we pointed out, he needs congressional approval to do that, so he can't do it without. I mean, there's some things he can't do without Congress. Uh, and I don't know what kind of pain it would cause to get rid of the central bank. I mean, I think just making it as weak as possible would be the best thing to do. So we continue.
One thing would be the dollarization thing, which I'm sure he would criticize them just as much for dollarizing.
And there's already a lot of he's the country already is dollarized de facto in a lot of ways.
Right. They have 200, $300 billion, $1 billion under mattresses
Yeah,
or not in the banking system, in the shadow banking system in people's houses,
yeah, yeah. I still
hidden in a wall, under a mattress, that sort of thing.
I take a lot of dollars with me when I go to Argentina, just a lot of $1 bills and use them use them for tips because they like getting them, and I don't mind, and I like to help them out. So, I mean, Saifedean accuses him doubling or tripling the money supply,
This
which
is
where he gets that from, I don't know. And
I don't know where he gets that. He gets some stupid statistic. Um, Malay has not been. I mean, it's funny. Double or triple the money supply, yet inflation is down like 90%. How does
so,
that work, Dean? How does that work? How can you? And by the way, he couldn't get rid of the Elidlix thing right away, and this is the problem that I brought up. This is why he blocked me. I was like, safety. You you haven't even looked at their situation. Their money supply was going up. I remember Malay talked about how much money they had printed and how much their money supply had actually before him, how much it expanded. And it was such an astronomical amount. It was crazy. It was like 1,000,000% or some crap because they kept and
yeah,
and the Lilix thing was doubling the money supply like every month.
yeah, there were
Was sooner than every 2 months because of the fact that they like, it was this, Ponzi scheme that was just blowing up, um, and I know you're one of your guests that explained it earlier, but basically, it was these bonds sort of, it's like the central bank was trying to manage the money supply without having trying to print money, but not having it flood out into the economy and cause a bunch of inflation. So they were keeping the money in their bank. They kept it so they would
yeah,
keep the money in the bank and just give out a little bit of interest, and that interest was emissions. The problem is this kept getting worse and worse and worse and bigger and bigger and bigger, and as inflation got worse and worse, they to keep these viable, they kept doubling the amount of emissions to the economy, and this was inflating the money supply like every month. They were doubling it, plus them they plus funding the treasury, and so Lee inherited this Lilix thing, and he got rid of it. And this is one other huge error that Saifedean is it shows that the thing with Saifedean is he really put absolutely no effort into it. No
what,
effort into
what you
research
mean?
was going on. It's amazing. It's like Argentina is Switzerland or something, right? It's like he put the analysis of like Switzerland to Argentina or just like some normal country, but Argentina in money supply was rising rapidly before Malay. was not a normal country. It was a disaster. The country is a disaster. Why do you think it was 200% in 2023? And why do you think at the time Milei became president, it was over 1% inflation a day, which is thousands of percent a year? Why do you think that happened? Why do you think as Milei took office, it was basically hyperinflation? So, and why do you think it went from $1 to 1 peso in year 2000 to 1,300 to 1 when Milei took office? Do you think that that's somehow Malay's fault? Malay should take, Malay inherited this whole thing, and Malay has dramatically cut down inflation. Even though they were printing so much, which is still going through the, when you have monetary policy, it might take 2 years to have an effect.
It does.
Because that's generally what Malay was saying. He's like, it's going to be, it takes usually a year and a half, 2 years to have monetary policy take an effect. So there's,
Yes.
and he did it such a drastic, from printing, doubling to almost like nothing to basically nothing. Eventually they quit increasing the money supply at all, to cut down inflation that much. And then he just, it's insane. Oh, he's increased the money supply. Well, so first of all, if you're increasing the money supply, doubling the money supply every month, okay, and then over a year and a half, you double the money supply, that's a huge improvement. That's like a massive improvement, right? So if you'd only double it once in 18 months or whatever, that's compared to doubling
It's
every
better
month.
than what we've done. Yeah.
It's like that's heroic.
So,
And inherited the Ponzi scheme. Now, the Lolix thing, they had to be careful and not let it blow up. If it would have blown up, they would have gotten like hyperinflation, like
oh
Venezuela.
yeah.
It was like this delicate balance he had to do, and eventually they did all these, changed the investments and moved it to the treasury. So Saifedean, another just what crazy error Saifedean made was he's like, oh, he looked at the treasury and he's like, oh, the treasury, the debt in the treasury has increased during Malay. But if you looked at the central bank and the treasury, debt had gone down. And the reason was is he moved that debt from the central bank, which they are using money printing, right? It was a monetary emission, and then he moved it to the treasury to get the end the money printing. And they were using obviously taxes to pay for it, but if you're not printing money, so they allowed the because they cut all the other spending, they allowed it to manage that. So it's the errors he makes are, I mean, for such a well regarded guy, is astounding.
Yeah. And now Saifedean goes on to talk about this IMF bailout and says that
Wasn't a
IMF
bailout.
is already a last resort. 20 billion in IMF loans, and now it has the highest. I mean, I don't know if that's true or is
Well,
that
I
true?
think they do, but here's the problem. Malay inherited everything. Malay inherited like a record low amount of reserves.
Yeah, it's
Malay
like
inherited the currency controls. Malay inherited all the problems.
yeah,
And Malay didn't want of course, Malay preferred not to go to the IMF. But the problem is to get rid of the currency. The problem was if he was going to open up the banking system and end the currency controls, they needed enough dollars so that there wasn't a run on the bank. So they needed enough dollars so that there wasn't a run on the bank. And um, there's a few things that he had to do. He had to get inflation down to a reasonable level so that there wouldn't be, if you opened up the banking system, everybody wouldn't run to get dollars, right? He had to get enough dollars because nobody wanted to peso. If if he has enough dollars, then there's not going to be a run on the bank. and the dollar would blow up compared to the peso. So he needed dollars, and this actually had a benefit for Argentinians, though. The benefit was he got rid of currency controls, which was a huge problem in Argentina, huge restraint to Argentina, and a huge restraint to people investing in Argentina. So this was a huge overall. The trade-off, in which does he mention? I can't remember. Does he mention currency controls in the article at all?
I haven't seen that so far. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, so he doesn't even mention the currency control. See, this is just very biased. This is just very biased article, by the way, that was reprinted published by
yeah.
the Ron Paul Institute published. I'm sure Ron Paul would, if you gave him the rundown about all this, would have been very happy that they published it in his institute.
Yeah,
but it was this really, really poorly researched article, similar, akin to like how they attack Ron Paul. But he doesn't even mention the currency controls. That's why he took out that's why he took it out, and to get rid of the currency controls. And so, but overall, Malay's been paying billions of dollars for debt payments. So he paid like $4 billion in January.
Yeah,
He's been doing that. So they've had to actually have enough surplus to cover that. Yeah, but Saifedean doesn't mention that. There some of the other like less good good commentators. I'm not going to name their names. I can't remember.
Yeah. I want to.
Milei should default on the debt. Rothbard wrote that one article. Oh, you should default on debt. Well, like, if you're it's Caputo brought this up. He's like, if we're Switzerland, we could default on debt and get away with it. We could default on some debt, we could get away with it. But we're Argentina. We've defaulted on debt over and over and over and over again. I heard that the number was 9 defaults. And in that case, you become a serial defaulter. That means that nobody trusts the economy, your economy. Nobody trusts your government. You're not going to get any investments. Okay. Yeah. Your whole country is going to lose investment grade. And to say that you could default after defaulting 9 times, and that's going to be some sort of good thing for your economy. That's going to get people to invest in your economy if you default on debt is insane. So there is, I've read that that these defaults have had major impacts on Argentina and GDP, like investment and trust in the country, and lower the country risk, which the country risk is important. That's why the lower the country risk, the more foreign investment and etc. you can get. Because at some point, there's no institution's going to bother with you. No investment institution or investor is going to bother with Argentina at some point.
Defaulting. I don't think defaulting on the debt is a positive move. Yeah, it's just it is kind of wild.
That's what some of his critics.
Yeah, saying he should default on the debt.
Default. Now, Saifedean, to be his credit, isn't that dumb. I don't think I've seen that criticism from Saifedean.
Yeah,
from some of Malay's other critics, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Those are the dumber ones.
Yeah, I would. Of course, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really want to bring up the fact that the Ron Paul Institute printed it, but there is one thing I would point out. All these American libertarians are talking about Javier Milei, and I don't think any Argentine libertarians are spending any time talking about Ron Paul. In other words, they don't care.
There are a few of them.
I don't think they care. I don't think they care at all. It's because Ron Paul is, Milei is 1,000 times more relevant to his country's history than Ron Paul is to American history. So it's,
that it's like 1,000 times is not even, it's not even a comparison.
And Saifedean talk, granted, there's still some inflation. It's not perfect, but it's
but a lot of that is because of the money. There's just this
Yeah.
the extreme amount of money printing they did before.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you had this, I mean, yeah, you've had this car, I mean, when you have a car that's going 300 miles an hour and you slam on the brakes, it doesn't stop immediately.
I
There's
looked at
all this momentum in the economy that Milei has to work against.
I looked at one of the only similar sort of in 1990, Peru had extremely high inflation, and they did some of the same stuff that Malay did. And it took them and they were printing even more. It was even worse, but they balanced the budget. They did some of the stuff that Malay did, and it took them years to get it down.
Yeah.
It took them years to get the inflation down, and I think he's like, "Oh, Lebanon did it faster." And I asked Grok, and then Grok said no. So Grok actually sided with there. Somebody asked Grok who was right, Saifedean or Scott, and Grok was like Scott easily. Because like
Yeah.
they've spent
But that probably would have, what happened in Peru, would that have been
made up. He just
Yeah.
said they weren't, oh, his budget surplus is nothing. They weren't paying the financing costs. Well, yes, they did. I proved that to him. I showed them the statistics where they're paying the financing costs. So
Yeah,
yeah.
about Peru's stabilization, would that have been under Fujimori?
Fujimori, yeah.
Yeah, Fujimori, yeah, another thing Fujimori did also is he went, I don't know exactly what he did, but he really went after the Shining Path, and he crushed them, because they had a huge problem with the Shining Path just causing all kinds of trouble down there. I mean, you've got these communist guerrilla groups that are just, I mean, they got their own armies practically. And Fujimori has a very interesting legacy in Peru. Yes. So now it's not goes, yeah, there's nothing about the,
But that took years. That was a really like reduction, cutting money printing, that sort of since and it took years to get it down. It took years, and they benefited. Their economy started to grow very rapidly. But like, um, so the fact, and you're not going to get rid of all the inflation. And at the last 3 months, this month, it's even lower. It's like in the 20s. So it keeps getting lower.
yeah. And here's Saifedean going about, he talks about, the official rate. He doesn't mention, that Milei basically, made the official rate the market rate. So that's,
Yeah.
so
So
the Milei started with real.
it's
Uh,
that's it. This is one of the most insane. Is this to say he's depreciated the currency, right? Is this that? Um, yeah, I explained this in like the government was lying about the currency. The market rate was
Yeah.
1,000.
yeah, the blue dollars as they call them. Yes,
The
exactly.
blue dollars, the rate in the market, and the government had like 7 different rates or 12 different rates. And the main one, through the banking system, they would have a rate for Spotify and some of these other things because everybody wanted Spotify or like, whatever. Um, and they would have all these different rates, but the one in the market, the one that actually reflected what a business would take, okay, what a business would accept, was over double the amount what the government said. So the fact that Malay closely matched, tried to get those to match the market and what the government says, is that is just being honest.
Yeah.
So Saifedean, all these people that say that Malay depreciated the currency now, the government was lying about the currency. The government had a fraudulent fixed exchange rate, which was causing massive distortions throughout the economy.
Yeah, and then Milei, and then Saifedean started to talk about comparisons to Lebanon, which I don't really know anything about. And
I mean, I asked Grok, and they said that Malay has done it better, faster than
Yeah.
Lebanon. I don't know. I don't know much about Lebanon. Malay has basically cut money printing to zero. new M0 has not been increasing like for a long time, as far as so I don't know exactly what else you can do. Um, there's probably, so I've looked at some of the other deflations. Our friend Bowtied Mara did it, showed it, went through a lot of these disinflations, and Argentina, according to what he said, was the highest, was the best, was even better. I guess Pinochet had a disinflation, and in Argentina, which people commend, and Argentina was even higher than that, even better than that. So, obviously, and Peru is another good one, and that one took years for them to get down.
Yes. Peru, it does seem fairly stable economically. That is true. And, by the way, the Peruvian currency is called the sol. Yes. So when you go to Peru, the
Problem with-
currency sun.
I think the problem with Peru is just it's impossible to start a business. You go through the government. And
Peru is the poorest country I've ever been to. It really is, and just I'm not sure what they have to do there.
I
There's
think
still
I remember I can't remember, is it who's the famous South American economist that talked about how um um land deeds, not having land deeds really lowers your ability to grow. I forget his name.
I'm not sure who that is.
He's very famous. I forget his name. But he,
Saifedean
like basically like having the titles for your land is really important. A lot of these countries don't have titles to land, and so you can't use them as collateral because you need collateral for money. So like basically, anyways, he also went to Peru and he tried to start a business, and it would been like, just to go through all the regulations and stuff would have been like, I think he calculated like years and years and years of like doing it every single day to try to start a business. So
Yes.
that's a lot of the problems with these countries is like like the regulations and etc. to start a business. And by the way, that's the one thing that Malay has been reducing. And
You do business. Yes.
and that's a huge problem in Argentina. It was impossible to start a business, so many regulations, etc. And Malay is simplifying, reducing. But do you see Saifedean helping, or do you see Saifedean giving Malay any credit for that? Can you?
Yeah.
Is that in the article at all? That the rest
Yeah.
that Malay is doing, is that in the article at all?
Yeah. It's not in the
Okay.
article. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so he's not giving him any credit whatsoever with anything, getting rid of the currency controls, deregulation, but he's just going, it's a good economist will take positives and negatives. So like, oh, he's doing good here, doing bad here, overall. But that's not what Saifedean does. Saifedean just hates Malay.
Yes, he does.
We both know why,
Yeah.
and
Why? I did look up.
and he's willing to write a really like an article that makes him look like a fool to anybody that knows.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know what. I really don't know what his gains are on this. Then he says, Milei seems to have balanced the quote. Milei seems to have balanced the budget, but this is not the way promoters think it is. The budget is only balanced if one does not count the cost of servicing the debt.
Didn't I just?
Yes.
This is just like this stuff is already. They are spending 1% of GDP
Yeah.
on the servicing cost. I showed like it's like what is he even talking about?
Yeah.
Like this is just like him. This is Saifedean. j- I really think this article is Saifedean being so like very angry. And you look at his
Yeah.
um his Twitter, you can see that he's very very angry. Okay, and
Yeah.
maybe for good reason, whatever. But very angry, and writing an article angry without even looking at the facts or anything, and getting basic stuff wrong. And I pointed this out to him, and he's like, he had nothing to say, nothing to respond to it. He didn't respond to it. The Yeah, like he's just lying. He's I don't know if he's lying, but look, I don't know if he's lying or he just had neglect when he
Yeah,
wrote.
I don't think the one thing I will say, I don't think I don't know where Saifedean's getting all this stuff from. Because I don't know if he speaks Spanish, but I mean that's one. He's obviously
Where would he get it from? Where would he get? But
might have gotten
if you
it
ask,
might have came from somebody else. Yeah,
if you ask, like ChatGPT, is Argentina paying the servicing cost? It should know. It should
yeah,
say it. They publish it every month,
yeah.
and we're always paying the servicing cost, and they actually make a big deal about it. If you listen to Caputo and Milei, and I listen to them all the time, they really emphasize paying the servicing cost.
Yeah.
They really emphasize it. They're like, "Oh, not only are we running a budget deficit or a budget, surplus, but we're running a surplus after financing."
Yes, and I should point out too,
Publish it. They're not
Saifedean has provided sources here, so he is providing little footnotes to his credit. I mean, he's not
like
just
what?
making like he's right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't check the sources, but
What?
at
Like,
least there are sources.
not the treasury, not the budget, not the people that actually know, obviously. Um,
There's a tendency also, especially among papers and stuff, is if you just write some long research paper, people will think you're smart just because you put a lot of fluff
oh
into it,
yeah, because he put a
even though
lot of words. Oh, you're
even though
so
it's not
smart.
even though it's not really that true. It's a really, I have to say, this is really weird for Saifedean because
It is weird. It's extremely weird that he got so much wrong, and he got so much wrong the first time too. He wrote something about Malay. It gets like how many million views? It gets 1 million views, so 1 million people see it, and it's like just nonsense. It was. I remember I already discussed it was about the debt going up, but overall debt was actually down because of the central bank. If you look at the balance sheet of the central bank and the treasury, but he was just looking at the treasury. So
and
like the basic stuff, and anybody like Bowtie my friend Bowtie looked at it. A lot of people looked at it and were like, "This is just garbage."
yeah,
This is-
Bowtie needs to come back on here. It's been too long. But yes, I mean, and the sad part is too is he's going to undermine his credibility because, I mean, Saifedean writes, I think, almost exclusively toward Orthodox Bitcoiners. He's because of his book, The Bitcoin Standard. He's got a following among Bitcoiners,
theoretical stuff,
and
this is theoretical.
and most Bitcoiners, I think, like me. So is he trying to? So he doesn't really lose that much by attacking Milei, other than just I think he's going to lose credibility with people who like him. The budget is only balanced. So then he goes down here. Milei is increased, and he also says Milei has raised taxes. I don't know what tax.
Like he's lowered taxes. He just lowered he got rid of the impost or the country tax, which is like a tax on dollars. He got lowered the export taxes. I mean, he he just lowered the export taxes. Like when was that? Like I mean, he's been lowering taxes. This is just initially, I supposedly lowered some taxes and raised some taxes, but since they've been running a desert surplus, he's been lowering the taxes. So he's
and he
lowered.
hasn't mentioned
And by
Milei's.
the way, he only raised the taxes because Massa basically irresponsibly cut to try to win the election, cut taxes entirely for this like income group. So he cut like income taxes.
Yeah,
And
that was an interesting
they
take.
basically they were already running a deficit. And their problem is inflation. So he cut these taxes, and it caused the inflation to get even worse.
Yeah,
You know, you have to pay for the government spending one way or another. If you're not going to pay for it taxes and in debt, you're going to have to pay for it with money printing. So Massa was like, "Oh, I'm going to cut taxes to make myself look good," but didn't cut the spending, and inflation just shot up. So Milei basically what he did was he brought back on some of those taxes, actually lower than before, to to want the country from having a budget. Uh, so that's the taxes that he raised. But no, Milei just cut export taxes.
Yeah,
He
theoretically,
he cut the country tax. He's been
yeah,
cutting taxes. So, and another one of these things that easily debunked.
yeah. So we go through it, and now he claims, he's raised tax, and then
Raised no. And
this
by the
just
way, the biggest tax
I
is
hear you.
inflation.
Yeah, I know.
Biggest tax has he lowered inflation? Would
Yeah.
Saifedean admit that inflation is a tax? And Miss Saifedean, even when we were talking, he admitted that Milei had cut the inflation. So is that a tax? Has he cut that tax?
Yeah, yeah,
But he's also cut the export taxes.
Yeah.
He's been cutting taxes.
and then he says exacerbating the poverty is sycophants, and no, he has reduced poverty. I mean,
Numerous different sources have said he reduced poverty. And one of the reasons the poverty had been rising so much was inflation.
yeah. Now he does mention that Argentina has vowed to quadruple spending on the military, which is so little. What I hear though, it's so little, it doesn't really matter much.
It's tiny. Milei bought a few F-16s. Argentina basically, their military was a joke. And f- I'm of course I'm more of an ANCAP, etc. But their military was completely in shambles, had not even kept up with the depreciation of the equipment, etc., etc., etc. And this was something that a lot, combining with the right member, Milei didn't win. He brought in Petri, who was Bullrich's vice president.
Presidential candidate, yes.
And that's what they wanted. They wanted to. That was one of the things. That was one of the coalitions. Is like we're gonna build. We're gonna improve the quality of our military to regional standards, the standards of the region. So we're not talking about Russia or United States or anything like that. We're talking like a pretty small percent of GDP. I would kill to have the percent of GDP in military spending that they have in Argentina.
Yeah, it's the military got, and a lot of, and there isn't that. And South America has been the most peaceful continent for the last 100 years. I mean, there's not much doubt, well, except for Antarctica and Australia, but I mean, it's
They joined world, yeah.
I mean, they pretty much just kind of sit and mind their own business and don't really.
Yeah, and that's Malay's
They-
goal, by the way.
There were land disputes among each other, but really, it's not much goes on there as far as war is concerned.
Yeah, and that Malay, that's his whole goal. He envisions Argentina just sitting back and minding their own business.
Back, but at least being able to defend
I
their.
think, so that's basically like it allows them to defend them. Some of these things just allow them to defend themselves. So if you're going to have a state, it's sort of if you're going to have a state, one of the functions of the state is to have self-defense, and that's what he's doing, is like we're gonna actually be able to defend our air and our land and stuff. So it is what it is. It's a very small percentage. Some F-16s, a few other things, not much.
Yeah, I mean, you can have things look pretty just to see a few things like that. It's what do you think is going to happen in these elections? I mean, is there anybody running we should know about, or anybody? I mean,
Well,
Bullrich apparently is going to run for the Senate. You said so. What?
yeah, Bullrich is running, so she's gonna abdicate or whatever her position.
And do we know who she seems to basically take all of her orders from Milei. I am really
She seems
amazed.
very loyal to Milei. Yeah.
She's really got a lot of loyalty there. It's really been amazing watching how this woman changed. I mean,
Yeah, and she says she's more libertarian now, which I'm sure like she gets the budget deficit stuff, and there's something that she didn't seem to understand during the campaign. But
and Bullrich is 69. I think she knows she doesn't have that much time left, and maybe she just wants to do something that
is she that old?
makes a difference and leave a legacy for her country. I
Yeah, and I think the big issue is I heard some of the commentators is they're using a lot of kind of recycled people like Bullrich to so there's a little bit of disappointment that they don't have a ton of these like up and coming people to run. But Malay's a lot of Malay's base is young, right? So the young
Yes, yes.
So, getting candidates, you'd have to maybe you can chat GPT what the age limit for like Senate and stuff is. Um, it's probably one of the reasons why they don't get some of his biggest supporters is because they're young. Like I think Gordo Dan might be running for something. Um, I thought I saw Gordo Dan is running for something. Or maybe did. But there's s- you know what I guess that's one of the bright spots is the young people, the people with the energy and stuff are with Malay. At least 70% of them. So uh,
Yes.
there's so we'll see. But the polls show he's gonna get it looks like he's gonna get over 40% of the vote, which I know that some of his supporters are like, oh, he needs over 50%, but Um, I think that if he has a very strong showing, that will make some of the people on the periphery be afraid and vote with Malay. So um, I'm hoping that they can get even a little more coalition. At least it will hopefully protect Malay's vetoes, right? Um, so yeah, I think that, if everything goes to plan, I'm hoping everything goes to plan, he's gonna have a pretty strong election.
Yeah, let's hope so. And we had the Bullrich is running for a Senate seat on and those elections are and of course
There's some in September, particularly in October and September. I guess some places have September or maybe some of the jungle system, blah blah blah. Some of them are in September, some in October, depending on like what the race is. Um, I forget there's a big one in September. Keep in mind, Adorni did very well in Cabo. He basically destroyed Pro. If you recall, what month was this? Was this in July? But Adorni ran for position in Cabo. So Adorni, who I love, I practically learned Spanish listening to Adorni. Um, ran.
Jordan won in May, yes.
Yeah, he ran in May. For a spot in Cabo for the local like government elections. I think, and one of the big things is like it was a head to head with them and Pro because Pro actually had Pro had been running Cabo or this autonomous city of Buenos Aires for a long time. And for over 20 years, they've had like control of Buenos Aires city and Malay ran Adorni against the Pro, and Adorni destroyed Pro. I can't. You have to look. I think Dorney got like 30%, and they ended up with like 18. I can't. You'd have to look at the official numbers. It's been a couple months. I can't remember, but they got third place, and it was. I remember McCree immediately like left the country. uh, he like went on a plane to Italy or something, because it was such a humiliating defeat for Pro. So now Pro is making coalitions with La Libertad Avanza. They're not really fighting them right now, which is really good for Milei's party, because they're not really fighting with the Pro people so much. They're more going after the Kirchnerists. What the party that looks like it's absolutely going to get destroyed more than even the Kirchnerists is the Radicals. And the Radicals are completely worthless, so that's good. The Radicals are basically Kirchnerist in another name. They're almost more socialist than the Kirchnerist. And so that party looks like it's actually almost going to not be in existence in this election. The Radicals, the traditional opponents to the Peronist.
Would that be Miriam Bregman and people like that, or?
No, she's a part of she's actually part of the communist socialist.
Yes.
They only get 2% of the vote. The Radicals, did they even have anybody running for president? The Radicals have been the last in the 1980s was run by the Radicals, Alfonson. And the 1989 hyperinflation was under the Radicals. So the Radicals were it's like the Democrats, Republicans, but they were supposedly more of the Republicans or something, but they were way worthless. They used more classical liberal, and then they became totally socialist, lost their way, became the totally socialist, and basically always push for bigger government. Now, Fonson, the president during the 1980s,
Fonson was from 83 to 89. Yeah,
was, if you look at his record,
he looks a lot like Peter Sellers too. But anyway,
he was awful. As a president, he was completely just a disaster economically, very socialist. And in 1989, they had a hyperinflation. So that's the Radicals, and the La Libertad Avanza basically looks like it's going to wipe that party off the map, which is good. So you're going to have the Peronist and an actual good right wing in Argentina.
yeah, we definitely need good right wings or good left wings, or it's hard to say. But yeah, I'm looking. I can't find out what his party was. It seems it's a.
He was a radical. He was what they consider a radical.
Yeah, what they consider radical.
Yeah, he was
Radical Civic Union, or
right. Radical UCR.
Radical.
Yeah, UCR is what they are called. What they go.
Yeah, I don't think they did have anybody running for president in 2023. I think they were.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Not sure why.
Well, yeah, if we can destroy some of these fake radicals, that's always these.
That was a party that lost its way. If originally they were more classical liberal, and then they just went totally off the rails, like I said. So Argentina didn't have any choices. They had a few decent presidents, like Fondizi was a decent president. He got actually couped by the military. And that's about it. Fondizi had a really good finance minister or economics minister that was classically liberal. But that's it, and the rest have been just terrible. And that's why the country went from that's the decadence of the country. Went from a prosperous country to country that was a laughing stock of constant banking crisis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Increasing poverty. One of the few in the world that poverty was increased as opposed to decreased.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the radical. It's really. I really appreciate all these different parties. It does make things more complicated, but at least it shows you elections are.
Yeah, Schiaretti. I saw Schiaretti. Remember our friend Schiaretti? He
Yes.
has he's Peronism to Schiaretti of
Yeah.
Schiaretti. Like he has a party too.
Yeah, I just remember him during the debates, and I thought, maybe this is a guy Milei could work with. I mean, he seemed like
Yeah.
he was more a guy Milei could work with.
Well, the
Oh,
Cordoba, the guy that took over for him
um,
is no. Who's the Cordoba? I forget the Cordoba.
Martin. Yeah.
Governor. He's been reluctant to cut spending in the province. Actually, one of their initiatives is Caputo is like these provinces aren't cutting spending. They're not doing what we're doing on the national. He's like actually trying to help. He has a initiative to actually try to help them to cut spending because they won't do it. They're not like a lot of the provinces aren't cutting the spending like they should. So
And they don't have the luxury of printing money. It's
the provinces that cut the spending to act to be fiscally because they weren't part of the Malay. The whole province thing is different. They were always like basically getting bailed out by the central government constantly. And the spending to the provinces bankrupt the country. And
yeah. Well,
whenever they had a problem, they would always bail them out. And then there was a moral hazard where you bail out the province because they're spending too much. Then they don't have the incentive
yeah.
to actually get their house in order. And the amount
Exactly.
of government employees in the provinces that's like doubled or something. And a lot of Malay's been cutting spending or taxes in some of these provinces, and some of these provinces have increased taxes. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we cut okay, we can," so, um,
Yeah. It's
the
definitely some.
Malays really trying to cut the spending to the provinces.
Yeah. Well, you talked about ending the transfers, and I think making the provinces more independent, and hopefully that's another thing. And we're also going to have provincial elections, and I don't know how that's going to work out. I mean, I guess it did work out pretty well in Salta because they already had some elections, but because the
Yeah,
Amelia Roscoe was tweeting about that and making videos and smiling like she always it does.
yeah, I know the Salta governor, he has a pronist, although he actually kind of works with Malay. He's a little bit more like working with Malay. He says he's a pronist. Um, but he's like got a very good presence to him. He's like a really good presence, the Salta governor, and he like didn't get defeated. It would have been ideal if we got a Lala Hurtado Ponza person there. I know in Santa Fe, their governor lost a lot of power. He the percentage of the vote like went down drastically. I think made him very concerned, but he he won. So he hasn't so far disposed of any of these governors,
Well, he can't
which
just keep
hopefully he can't. Hopefully they'll get some of these governors.
yeah. I mean, hopefully they can get them out. I mean, decentralization is about the president. Yeah, I mean, the worst is Kisilov. I mean,
Oh yeah, Kisilov is awful. And Kisilov, I read that had increased the amount of government employees by 70,000 in something in Buenos Aires. The guy famously said that the Soviet Union would have worked if they had Excel or something like that. He's actually quite Marxist. He's the one that expropriated YPF, their oil company, and basically expropriated it, stole the shares, then stole the shares from the private companies and didn't pay them or anything. And now that you you're familiar with this, Chris. Now the all these international courts are like are are trying to get Argentina to pay that back, which is like $16 billion. They don't have that in their budget to pay that back. So it's actually a huge problem. And this is some of the reasons why Kisilov is I'm not sure he will be able to confront with Milei, because he's really dirtied with this YPF thing, and the crime in Buenos Aires province. His province is awful. Oh, that's the province that like Milei is going after the most, is Buenos Aires province. Is That's one of the provinces he lost. Right, he lost 3 provinces: Santiago del Estero, Formosa, and Buenos Aires province. That's all. He won all the other provinces, Milei. That's the one that Milei is really trying to win.
Yeah. Yeah, the provinces, yeah, he wants to, I mean,
And
because I think there really is, you showed some videos where he was just going on a show talking, holding that puppet. We talked about this on that show I did with Maria. It's just, I think he's really getting out and talking to the public and really just telling them this is what it is, and he's really finding out a way to get more and more people on board with his program.
well, I think
That's
people see it getting better too. I mean, like I said, things are expensive, but there's actually hope that things will get better. Under Massa, there was really no hope. Um, I think people and I think, some of the labor market reforms and everything. I think people are kind of sick of some of that, the awful labor market laws that they have. So, all in all, I really think that um I really think that mm, um people are, that's why over 40% of the people are going to be voting for Malay.
yeah. Also telling is that
And the Kirchnerists, by the way, the polling shows them they might be getting under 30%.
also only 7 of the 24 senators up for election this year are seeking reelection. So, 17 of them are going to be out, and that is a lot of them are from Union Pola Pa the Union for the Homeland, the Union.
Oh yeah, that's the
Yeah,
Kirchnerists, that's the
yeah,
Pronist.
they're going out, so that's good. Uh,
Yeah, I mean that he really needs, the Senate. He was especially weak.
the Union for the Homeland is definitely seeking reelection, so in fact, they're all.
That's the Kirchnerists.
Yeah, the Union for the Homeland, they're all well, 6 of the ones seeking reelection in the Senate Union for the Homeland. One is the UCR, the
That's the radicals.
Radical Civic Union, yeah, so, that should be, yeah, still the Union for the Homeland definitely controlled a lot of the Senate period, so that's,
Yeah, yeah, that's who yeah, that they've caused a lot of problems for Malay.
now in the deputies, uh, too many to count here really, but I'd say there's more not seeking reelection than seeking reelection, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, I think, well, that'll be very interesting. Well, after the elections, what will happen?
Well, Jose Luis Espert is seeking reelection.
Yeah, he's great.
Uh,
He's really good. He initially betrayed Malay, but
you know,
joined sides with them again.
Carolina Piparo is not seeking reelection,
Oh, really?
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maria Fernanda Araujo, she's seeking reelection.
I'm surprised Pipero, for a while,
Yeah,
basically was mad at Malay. She campaigned with Malay
yeah,
very heavily. During the campaign, she was always in the picture with Malay.
yeah,
Um, I think she ran for governor.
yeah.
And
Maybe she did. Yeah,
she ran for governor. And
Let's look
yeah,
that
their
up.
whole thing is like they kind of can. anyways, so Pipero betrayed Milei. She started voting against Milei for a while. She was mad because she wanted to be a part of the government, I think. She wanted to be head of something in the government, something head of the retirements or something like that. And Milei didn't put her there. She was just in the Congress. So she started betraying Milei, and now she's like on his side again, but
Yeah.
that she wasn't gonna be elected. Maybe Milei will have a spot for her in the government.
Who knows? Also, Nicolas Mario Emma, he's seeking re-election, so that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know all their deputies. No, or their senators.
Florencia Nayara Klipauka Lutak, not seeking re-election. These are not Carlos Raul Zapata, he's seeking re-election. Alberto Gustavo Arancibia Rodriguez not seeking re-election. And Ricardo Juan Caramuno, he's not seeking re-election. So looks like maybe we don't have career Congress people down there like they do in America. That's a good sign.
Yeah, maybe not.
I think they're more not seeking re-election than election, and but that could be maybe people just noticing things are changing. They're going to go do something else. I couldn't find enough about Piparo about what she's doing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yes,
I wish Mondini kind of came out and criticized. Did you see that?
who
She
did?
both defended Malay and criticized them. So it's she didn't, I'm a Mondini fan, but too bad she couldn't. She's a big name. Too bad she couldn't have ran for something.
I
But
was looking at Piparo, and Piparo has an English page on Wikipedia, but doesn't have a Spanish page on Wikipedia. That's wild.
yeah,
Oh, wait, no, she does. Okay, she has a Spanish page. So there is one other language. So yes,
but yeah, be very interesting. Very interesting. I know there's some sort of scandal going on with LLA. I can't recall. It says something to do with, and then when you you get these candidates and you create this party structure. There's just going to be there's going to be a little corruption here and there. There's going to be some stuff going on. It's not easy, perfect to do that sort of thing. So, um, like I think that the people are pretty happy with Malay, and they will generally give him a good election. I that's what he really needs. And I saw that a lot of these banks and these investment people, like official institutions, are are um are are basically saying that this will be if Lala Rutalavanza wins, this will be great for foreign direct investment and investment. And one of the things of the first 2 years is people have been kind of shy to invest into Argentina because they are waiting to see what the political wins are. Is it going with Malay? Are the people going to reject Malay? Are they going to go back to Peronism and Kirchnerism? And if Malay can show them that he's actually got staying power, his movement's got staying power, I think that Argentina is going to get more direct investment. Actually, the investment will start flowing into Argentina if his party does well. If his party does well in the midterms.
yeah. If it gives confidence in people who want to invest in Argentina, I mean, somebody like
Right. Because that's what I remember Christina Kirchner. It's hilarious. Christina Kirchner was criticizing Malay because wasn't getting he wasn't getting uh, tons of foreign direct investment besides like the Riggy thing. which was a different sort of high
Yeah.
big influence thing, and it's because of her. It's because of her party. It's that the Kirchner, like it's like for Sturzenegger says, we don't have country risk, we have Kirchner risk.
Yeah.
You know, the risk is the Kirchners get power again, and they start to destroy everything and make the and it's sad that like a third of the country supports them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Peabody, by the way, I didn't know she actually got shot when she's pregnant and lost the baby. Wow. She was
That's
having
awful.
yeah, she's been a victim of crime personally. I don't see what she might be doing next though. She's
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Like you said, it might be. It used to be if you wanted to be rich in Argentina, you became a politician. That was one of the only ways to get rich. Um, if you weren't a politician, if you weren't connected to the government, one of their cronies, it basically had no job opportunities, very little chance
yeah,
to make a lot of money because it's so hard to start a business and all these
yeah.
things. And
Well,
the economy was very unproductive in that way. And
yeah,
now I think that it is much more attainable to actually earn a living. Um, you know, so Sturzenegger did a lot of deregulations. They've done a lot of deregulations in Argentina to try to make it more possible to actually start businesses. A lot of streamlining things where you just have to, fill out a form to start a business, that sort of
oh
thing.
yeah, yeah, and hopefully those things got better. I mean, yeah. Well, you said that the two ways to make money also was be a lawyer or be an accountant.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, That's
Lawyers,
yeah,
an
is it
insane amount of insane amount of the young people are lawyers in Argentina. They're like smart. They're not like engineers, like kind of like, in the United States, there's lots of engineers. There's lots of, and there's a lot of other things that actually produce things. In Argentina, there's like a lot of lawyers to find ways to take from the government, So, and accountants, because the government is just so corrupt and the taxes are so onerous that you need to find ways to uh, get away from the government, and that's what the accountants do. How can you escape the government? Um,
yeah. Milei does Milei have some friends in pro by chance? I mean, in the
yeah, the pro's been pretty pro Malay.
yeah, I mean, yeah, Republican proposal or yeah,
Pro has been, Macri was pretty nice. Well, Bullrich was pro,
yeah,
obviously.
Mueller's pro, yes,
Petri is pro. Those were both pro.
and they're both in the cabinet. Yes,
They're both in the cabinet. I think he's brought some others from to the cabinet. Macri was pretty pro Malay until the last elections. He started to criticize and kind of. Uh, I think Macri tried to increase his relevance and in the increase his relevance. So, but he got stumped. Like I said, Adorni stomped his candidate in the Cabo elections, and that just set the tone for everything else. It just showed that LL Lara Libertad Avanza was just much more of a political force than pro. The
yeah,
obviously people that aren't don't know, they're like they were kind of this right wing that wasn't the radicals, but they're kind of more of a center right, actually center right wing. The problem with them is Macri was like Malay, he's very weak. His government was very weak in 2015, And unlike Milei, he didn't do the things that they needed to balance the budget. He didn't do the things they needed to actually reform the country.
Yeah, Wikipedia says, by the way, that Bullrich has been in 6 different parties. Yeah.
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 It would be interesting who replaces her.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see who might replace her, and
Yeah.
if we can definitely get something, because he needs a much more friendly Congress, and maybe we get some more governors out there. I mean, it's gonna be wild to see what some of these La Libertad Avanza does this year. I mean, I'm gonna certainly, watching all that. It's,
Yeah, I'm watching it. The polling seems pretty positive, like I said, but
Yeah.
we'll see. The Kirchners are always trying to come up with some scandal or something to, you know. The thing is everybody knows they're but just a bunch of crooks. So
they pretty much are, yes. I don't know. I don't see anything about running for office on Gordo Dan's Twitter, but
I saw something before
maybe so. Yeah.
uh that he was running for something.
If you don't love Messi and Milei, you're not Argentina. Okay. Yeah.
Messi, Maradona, Milei. They've got the 3 M's. The 3 M's.
Oh, it's certainly been yeah. Messi's, I saw a video once of apparently Messi was stopped at a red light or at a stop sign, and somebody handed a jersey over to him from the other car and asked him to autograph it while he's stopped there at the stops at the red light or something.
And he did it?
Yeah, and he did it. They said, and this is why people love.
Yeah, Messi's a really good guy.
This is why people love
Very
Messi.
humble. He's very down to earth. He just likes to play soccer. He really likes to play soccer, and he's just the best soccer player ever. But
Yeah, he's one of the best soccer players. Yeah, it's certainly.
I think he's the best. Most people think he's the best ever. But except for you're in Portugal where I was. But even a lot of them will admit it that Messi like his
What'd you go to Portugal for?
kind of vacation.
Oh, okay. That's a long way to go for a vacation, but yeah, it's a.
Not really. It's actually if you go to California from where I am, it's the closest stop to Europe that I am. It's actually a latitude the same as Boston.
Yeah, that's
It's warmer, but it's like the same latitude. It's actually the closest flight, I think, from Boston. So
yeah. Yeah,
if you want to go like the shortest flight, just the a nice like cheap, relatively cheap country, that's Portugal.
that's true. Yeah, it certainly has its pluses. It's just,
It's lovely. It's a lovely place.
yeah, it definitely seems like there's just not as much careerism in Congress down there as there is up here. There's I wonder how they managed to keep it that way. I think that's probably a good thing, but we'll see how that works out. It's La Libertad Avanza has no. There's only 3. It's only 3 pro governors too. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they need a lot of work on the governorships.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, but I think Milei's really building
And
something.
in those local legislatures, they really
Yeah, the provincial legislatures, yeah.
those legislatures to push to get more of that spending. They need everything. They need um, so that it's like very important.
It's definitely very important because the governors can really play around with him. I mean, Milei doesn't really interfere much in local well, they certainly sent the feds into Rosario, I believe, but that's about it.
Yeah, but Rosario was a different case. Rosario was the head of like this cartel
Yeah.
and this narco cartel. Um, the crime there was bad. I've been to Rosario. It's a beautiful place. I really liked it. Really, really loved Rosario. But of course I didn't go to like the bad areas, but uh the basically they had a drug cartel there. They're really nasty people, you know. They're really, really nasty people, and the crime was very high in Rosario. It's viewed as this very rough, like the one city in Argentina that was just like really bad. Um, they also were more or less associated with the Kirchnerist. I mean, that's one way they would enrich themselves. So, kind of by going after them, he's hurting them. He's going after the violent criminals, and their friends, right? That they enrich. So, he's cut down crime a lot in Rosario. It's like 80%, so 80% of the homicides are gone in Rosario. So it's a safer place to be. Beautiful place. I really loved it.
Yeah, Rosario is actually the third largest city now too, after Cordoba.
Cordoba, yeah, yeah. It's a big city. It's quite large.
Yeah,
Indian people going. It's got this massive. What's the river that goes right by it? The
Parana.
what?
Is that the Parana?
Yeah, that's right. That river that goes right by it. It goes all the way to the coast. Extremely
That river that becomes the Rio de la Plata.
right. And it's a massive river. It's just that the city I really loved. I'm glad that I get to go there.
That's it. That river is also realized that that's also the fifth largest basin by land area. That
Yeah,
river. I didn't realize.
That's the thing with Argentina. They're very navigatable rivers.
Yeah, the number one basin is the Amazon, and then number two is the Congo, and then there's the Nile, the Mississippi, and then the Parana is the next. That's two of the biggest basins in the world are in South America. Rivers help a lot too.
They do. That's one reason why Africa is so poor. They just don't have any navigatable rivers. Because they always have these cascades. There's a huge difference between inner Africa and the coast. So they have these cascades to get to, and it makes you have cascades and makes shipping and pop worthless.
By the way,
this city doesn't have them. Example, so they just don't have. It's one reason. The commerce and stuff in Africa is so hard.
And with regard to the Buenos Aires really is only 2 million, but then you've got the whole area, the metro area, which is
like that includes like Quilmes and some of these other
towns.
The problem is that the province is actually way worse than the city.
The Buenos Aires province, the Buenos Aires province is actually
Buenos Aires province has been run by the Kirchnerist, and it still is.
And it includes and Buenos Aires is an autonomous city, but then there's the Buenos Aires province, which is everything outside of that.
That's the one run by La Plata.
La Plata, yeah.
The beautiful city.
Del Plata, Vicente Lopez Partido.
La Plata is the capital of the province, though.
Bahia Blanca, yeah.
It's the biggest province. It's got the most people, and it's run by the Kirchnerists. Although Milei actually came pretty close to winning it. He was he get like 48% of the vote. He did pretty good there.
And then Tucumán and Salta are both a little over 500,000, and then there's some nice.
Mendoza's got a couple million. Mendoza, the beautiful province.
I did not see Mendoza on this.
Mendoza's probably the fourth biggest city, I imagine. Tucumán's city is up there.
It's got a larger metro area, but the city's not that large. I didn't realize that. the city's only
I think it's
115,000.
the fourth biggest province, right? After Santa Fe and Cordoba and Buenos Aires.
Mendoza is definitely nicer than Cordoba. I got to tell you that. If you want to go visit a second, I don't know what all the cities are you've been to in Argentina, but
You been to Cordoba?
I've been to Cordoba and I've been to Mendoza, outside of the Buenos Aires area. So
Yeah, Rosario's nice.
yeah, well, I yeah, I mean, Cordoba is the second largest province by population, then Santa Fe, and then Mendoza, Tucumán, Salta,
Yeah,
Entre Rios, and
that's just north of Buenos
Yeah.
Aires province.
There's a lot of So-
Usually the northern provinces are the poorest.
yeah. Why do you think that is? Is it malaria or what?
That's a good question.
Well,
I
it
know,
seems
I like
diseases.
Formosa obviously has been run by a dictator.
Yeah,
I think they're farther away from the coast. They're farther away from the rivers. They're a little bit more. Some of them are more like jungly, more rural, and a little bit more rural. And so they're just not as connected to the economic activity around Buenos Aires. And they also have had um, really bad governors and stuff. And Formosa, it's like insane amount of the people don't have running water, stuff like that. And I know Chaco is extremely poor. Uh, I think that's considered the poorest one, very poor. Malay actually went to Chaco not that long ago, um, which is kind of nice. He went to the poorest place.
yeah. Chaco is right south of Formosa. Formosa has a long border with Paraguay,
Yeah.
and by far the longest border with Paraguay. And it borders
Yeah, those provinces, the three, Santiago del Estero, very poor, Chaco, very poor,
Yeah,
Mosa, very poor.
it's
Those are
interesting.
really the three worst.
The Chaco name comes from Quechua, which is not Spanish, which I find, which might tell you something about it. It's just
Yeah. Um, so yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It, farther away from the coast, from the rivers.
the transportation from well, it's harder to build infrastructure, but you end up with things like the rainforest where it's just, I
More
mean,
rural.
there's still a lot of diseases going around the Amazon, for example, that people can get.
Yeah,
You know,
they were having was it West Nile? No,
Yeah.
no, dengue. Dengue was a problem, and I knew people that got dengue. Um, yeah, dengue was a problem. One of the first, like when Malay took office. I haven't heard that much about it, so I think right now it's not so bad, but
yeah. Well,
it's also winter there now, so.
this has been another great show, and I gotta get ready to do some things. You got anything to say before we go?
Not much. It'd be exciting to see this. If you want to see my interaction with Saifedean, it's on my Twitter. So watch my Sid Twitter. It's just Sheller Band.
Well, what? Yeah,
Sheller 11. I've been since last time I was on. I was retweeted by Elon Musk. Obviously, he retweets me quite often. Over 40 times he has retweeted me. So I got retweeted by the two coolest guys in the world, Elon Musk and Malay.
Yeah, I don't
Cooler
know.
than that. Who's
How-
cooler than Elon Musk and Malay? Like,
I don't know if Milei knows about this show, and he's never retweeted me, so I don't, or whoever runs his Twitter account retweeted me. I don't know. I mean, I'm certainly plenty of people follow me. Yeah, but this has been another great talk. Yeah. So,
I bet she does.
where we can just follow you on Twitter then.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I'm writing for AIER. I've got a few articles out for AIER. I'm in the process of writing another one, which I'm excited about this one. And so yeah.
Please,
Yeah,
like,
follow my published work and my Axe account, and I go on different shows. Chris was the first one actually. He gave me a chance back in October of 2023. We were talking date. So Chris is actually, the key to any of my successes. Chris.
oh yes, I'm glad I could help get the message out. Well, please like this video or this this podcast, and subscribe to the channel. Go buy my novel, Escape from the Village. Check out my Substack, and people are giving me money to buy me a coffee. Thank you, Skot Sheller. I'm Chris Baker. We're out.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.